This is Hot Mic with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
Deep to left center field, back it goes and gone. The 0-2 pitch, hey, struck him out swinging at 101. The swing and a drive, left field and deep, back it goes and gone. And the Twins walk it off again.
All right, it is that time on a Friday. We get a chance to visit with our guy Cory Provus, who is actually driving back with his son. They were at the game last night in Dyersville, Iowa. Obviously, the game was on Netflix, but they decided to drive down and take it in person. It's great to visit with you as always. We showed the highlights off the top of our show. You were there. Give us what the vibe was. How did it feel to be there?
I mean, it really is everything that the hype and the buildup that you hear about, seeing the grounds, and is it gonna meet expectation? I think it does that and then some. It was awesome. And thankfully the weather cooperated, because there were all these doomsday scenarios that we kept hearing about. But a funny story is I was there with my son Cooper and then some friends, and we went to breakfast in this in downtown Dyersville at this really nice diner, and we're leaving and this guy says, "Hey, don't worry, we're going to play." I'm like, "Huh?" And it's pouring. And he says, "By 3:00, this is going to be gone. We're going to play." And I'm like, "You're the only one that I've heard say that." And I'll tell you what, this guy knew what he was doing and knew what he was talking about, because we played and it was great, and all the pageantry, and I don't get, maybe I'm a little, I'm used to it and I see it every day, but yeah, it was hard not getting emotional. I put my arm around my son watching the Hall of Famers come in from the corn. I mean, come on, that was so cool. To see that in person is something I'll never forget.
Yeah, that part I saw. I didn't know they were doing that. I figured the players would, because they did that before. But they'll have the Hall of Famers there, Cory. And you saw them in person. That had to be something else. Yeah,
and seeing these guys come in, and I was telling Cooper who these guys are, but seeing Jim Cott, come through the corn, and he and Burt were like the first two guys out. And then you had Molitor right there. I mean, it was really incredible to see all that. And then Joe was a part of it, of course, too. And, Mike Schmidt got a huge hand, as he should have. Steve Carlton got a big hand. So I thought it was so great. I thought every part of it outside of the game itself was just so well done. And so bravo to Major League Baseball, to Netflix, to all that, and the Twins for letting us kind of tag along was something that we'll never forget.
To see the players embrace it, though, as well. We showed it earlier of them coming out of it. They're looking around. I mean, I know these are professionals, but I think it had to affect them as well when they're coming out, walking out of the corn and seeing what's in front of them.
Yeah, remember, none of these guys, these current players, were like born when the movie came out. Okay, right. So that's how these guys are, but they've heard about it, and I'm sure they've seen it, but it was neat. I didn't know about it till today, but when we were walking out last night, so where they play the game is not the site of the movie. That's next door. Like, you literally walk to the cornfields to get from one spot to the other, but when we're leaving the field, the game field, we're walking through the movie site field with the White House and the barn and all that, and we see, and I'm like, that's Roger Clemens in his 21 Red Sox uniform. Like, what is Roger Clemens doing in his Red Sox 21 uniform? Well, I guess Cody came out later, and they had a fun moment of Cody in his full uniform and Roger in his Red Sox uniform, and they said, "Hey, Dad, you want to have a catch?" And I think they caught that on social media. I think it's out there, but it was like, what is Roger Clemens? It didn't hit me that that's what they were going to do, but a great idea. Yeah. It was really something.
Is this – obviously, they've expanded the ballpark. Now that you've been there – I was talking about this earlier on the Winter Classic, that the NHL has, beaten into the ground, because now they have other games outdoors besides just the one on New Year's Day. Is this something that baseball can do every year, Cory, or is this once every couple years without it getting stale?
I think they can do this every year. Yeah. I think for a new fan base, I think it's, over time, you'll obviously recycle fan bases and teams will go back. But I think this first time, like, I read rumblings that maybe it's going to be the Red Sox and Royals next year, just based on how the schedule looks, and they haven't announced it yet. But if you just kind of do the math and look at where the game is, and a random Friday in August kind of adds up that's what it's going to be. And it's great. And, this was the third, I think, game now at the Field of Dreams site, and it's awesome. And I think they should do this every year. I think this is something that every family, if they can, should experience. I think every player, if they can, should experience. It is something that, and I'm so happy that my son's 13. Because if he was 4 or 5, we'd still go, but he wouldn't remember it. But now, to be able to really have video of playing catch with my son on the outfield grass and left field is something that I'll cherish forever.
That's really, really cool. What was the crowd like? Was it hardcore baseball fans? Were there people from Iowa there? What was the sense you got from being there?
I think the hardcore fans. So if you went down the lines, there were like risers and bleachers. No seating in the outfield. But I think the fans were down the respective lines, and they were probably the loudest of everybody. It was more quiet, corporate, but family kind of, with the Twins player, because there's only so many seats, and so they did a good job making sure that the players' families could experience that too. So it was quiet. I'll say that. I mean, early in the game, before the game got out of hand, it was really quiet, and in some ways it felt like even a modified spring training atmosphere to a point. But then all the pregame stuff blew that out of the water. But in terms of once the first pitch was thrown, it did feel like more of a spring training kind of vibe. But the diehard fans, they were down the lines, and I'd say the loudest that it got, not just the Schwarber leadoff home run was something. Then the second homer, that was an odd play.
Yeah.
But when the Twins were down 5-1, then Royce was coming up with the bases loaded and facing Aaron Nola, and the Philly fans down the right field line, they got pretty loud. So that was probably the loudest that I sensed that the ballpark was, outside of Schwarber's leadoff home run.
I know you weren't working last night, but I'm going to ask you a couple of baseball questions when you were there. Byron Buxton activated. How big a deal now he's back to re-energize this lineup with him being back in there?
It's great, but we need to see that he can do it.
Yeah.
And, I want to see him steal a base. I want to see him go after a ball in the outfield and dive, and because he's so great and he's a leader of this team in every possible way. But we want to see Byron Buxton at his best. And, if we're only going to get 70%, 75%, it's good. But is that what we want? And I get the sense, though, he's not going to DH. And I think that's right. I think at this point of the season, a contending team, Josh Bell needs to play. And Josh Bell is not great at first base. We know that. That's why he doesn't play there very much. That I think if Byron plays, Dom, it's going to be in center. That if he's not in the lineup, he's not playing. That I think that when the Twins need a DH, is unless Josh Bell's off for a day, that's one thing. But I don't see Josh Bell playing first base the rest of the season unless we're talking about an emergency situation. That Bell's role on this team right now is an everyday player. Let him DH and let Byron play center. And if he can't play center, then I think Byron's off that particular day.
The other major thing was you mentioned the second Schwarber home run was off Luke Keeshaw's glove. I know there's a bunch of loud people online saying the Keeshaw outfield experience should end. What do you make of what went? Because he's had a couple of those out there. Give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that it's too early to write the book on that. That it wouldn't shock me next season if Keeshaw is told to just prep for left field. That I think I think that's kind of where this is going long term. Is that I think Keeshaw is going to be in left field and some semblance of. And Larnach's been great. I mean, I hope that Larnach stays. Maybe there's a platoon of Larnach and Keeshaw in left for a while, but. Walker Jenkins is going to be a part of this team. Emmanuel Rodriguez is going to be – he's out of options next year, so he's got to make the team out of camp. So I would put Emma ahead of Jenkins right now on the depth chart, and I think Rodriguez is your right fielder. If not this season, then next season. That's how I kind of look at it, just based on roster. But I think Keeshaw, to say that he's done, he's 23 years old. I'm not ready to do that to him anytime soon. But I think, to be fair, the Twins have to tell him, look, this offseason, prep for the corner outfield spot. And I think we've talked about this before, but I think that's a massive topic that this team has to solve. And I'm not just talking about Keeshaw here. I just don't know how this team gets better defensively, Dom, with moving as many guys around as they do. I don't know how they fix those numbers. That I think in the offseason, it's got to be Royce Lewis, you're a first baseman. That's what you have to think about. Luke Keeshaw, you're our corner outfielder, left field, right field, what have you. Cody Clemens, if there's going to be one guy that's going to move around and bounce around, it's going to be him because he's good at it.
Yep.
He's good at it,
Yep.
but your best teams in baseball, they have one of those guys. They don't have four. And I think that there's no path for this team to get better defensively until they solve that.
We have not talked since Kalen Culpepper got brought up last Friday. It's been a week. What do you evaluate? I know it's only 7 days in the major leagues. How's he look so far in your estimation?
The arm strength is real. I mean, there's no doubt about that. The arm strength is legit. He has got a very, very strong arm. He's gotten a lot to clean up, though. He's working every day with Ramon Borrego and Toby Gardenhire on doing just that with his feet and his internal clock and all that has to just be faster and be sharper. But the arm strength is real. We haven't seen the range yet. You know, he told me that his favorite play to make is the one in the hole at short, the Derek Jeter kind of, backhand spinning jump throw. That's his favorite play. He's got the arm strength to do it. There's no debate about that. And the at bat, it's a learning. I mean, I think we've seen it this year. There's never been a bigger gap than, excuse me, Tom, the corn.
It's all right.
Sorry about that. It's got
okay.
me. There's never been, I think the gap right now between AAA pitching and big league pitching is cavernous. This is like an abyss with how big the gap is right now. And we're seeing that. So, give him time. He's going to adjust and he'll make, necessary changes with his approach and with his swing. All that's coming. But what stood out to me, the home run was great in Milwaukee, but the arm strength that I heard about and read about and maybe saw marginally in spring training, that's legit. He really has that.
I have to add, we showed the standings early in the show on the American League Central. The Tigers, Cory, are in second. I thought Detroit was done. They traded Tarek Skubal. What has happened? Is Detroit in this thing now?
Yes, they are absolutely in this thing because they have, one of the favorites for the American League Rookie of the Year, and Kevin McGonigal, stud. Yep. They have Troy Melton, very good. He got an ERA in the ones. They just got Jackson Joe back. He'd been injured the last year and a half. He's a young, promising power arm. Dylan Dingler is a stud catcher,
good.
Defensively and at the plate. I think that they're absolutely in play. And they brought up one of their better prospects in Max Clark to play the outfield. Riley Green's dealing with a hamstring injury. That's worth watching. But it's a good lineup that underperformed when their best player was out for May.
Man.
I mean, May changed everything. They had a terrible May where they won 6 games in the month of May.
Bad. Yep.
So that's it. I mean, their season was defined by one lousy month. And you say May, but that stretch really began with a 4-game sweep at Target Field back in late April. That's kind of where all this was going downhill for the Tigers, was that 4-game series. But I think they're absolutely for real because I like their lineup. I do, and they're not striking out very much. And I think Kevin McGonigal is going to be a perennial all-star and a problem in the AL Central for years.
My last thing for it, and I really appreciate you doing this on the road. I know he's not been up for 3 months now. Matt Wallner gave a really, I thought, eye-opening interview with the Pioneer Press. I don't know if you saw it earlier this week, saying basically he believes his time with the Twins is done. I don't know. I don't think that's breaking news. I think a lot of us probably assume that as well. My question to you is, I was shocked how forthright he was with the media on that. That might be something you say to another teammate. I was really surprised, Cory, how open he was, knowing that this door is probably closed on him. This chapter is probably, it's crazy considering a couple years ago he was one of their top guys. He thought they're going to build on him, and it's likely over now.
Yeah, I mean, I see where he's coming from, and I get it because there have been chances for him to come back up,
right.
And he hasn't been brought back up, and I see why. I mean, you look at it from where the Twins are at. What kind of team are they trying to have? I mean, we had this note on the air the other day, and it was courtesy of Chris and the guys on Twins Radio. It was a great note that Josh Bell became the first Twin to strike out 100 times this season. And the Twins were the last team in baseball to have a guy at 100 strikeouts. And, to be fair, if Matt Wallner was on this team, he would have hit that number in May?
Yeah.
I mean, he would hit that number really, really early because he was striking out all the time. And that's an issue. It really is an issue. So it's something that I know that he is trying to work on. He has been working on, but to be fair, it's just he's again going back to my point about the gap between AAA pitching right now and the big leagues.
Right.
We're seeing it. I mean, Matt Wallner is putting up video game numbers, incredible numbers in the minor leagues, but you come back up here, big league pitchers are finding that gap that he has. Up and inside, that high fastball with velocity, with the swing that he has, he's not been able to make the change to hit that pitch, and I think that's part of why he's not been asked to come back up. So we love Matt, local kid, awesome story, but I totally see where he's coming from in terms of where he's at in his career.
You got a Friday night off. What are you doing? You going to tear it up, or you're laying low?
I'm laying low. I mean, it sounds like it's going to be a family, kind of a movie night, picnic movie night, dinner, kind of a nice Friday night. That you're right, that having a Friday night at home is you don't get many of these.
Oh, man.
So I'm going to just chill out with Dana and the kids, and then get ready for the Fighting Phils tomorrow.
Who are you working with this weekend?
I think Justin.
Okay.
I think I used to ask Dick Bramer all the time, like, who are you working with, and I always found it odd, like he didn't always know. He was 100% right.
Yeah,
100% right. Like I don't know, but I think it's Morneau. I think so.
Man.
But I just show up, and whoever I'm lucky enough to be next to is fine by me.
There you go. Safe travels, man. Thanks so much for doing this on the road, and we'll talk next week. Okay.
It sounds good, Don. Thanks, buddy.
There he is, Cory Provus from the road, driving back from Dyersville, from being at the Twins game last night. He and his son taking it in as they saw the Phillies beat Minnesota last night, 7-1. Off today, and then 2 more with the Phillies. And I mentioned this, and we'll talk maybe some more after the break. They got the Atlanta Braves coming to town early next week. Anytime Atlanta and Minnesota playing baseball, especially in the Twin Cities, it just automatically conjures up memories of 1991. But the Braves are really, really good this year. They were running away with the National League East until the Phillies turned their act around. We know another team didn't turn their act around the National League East, but Atlanta's good, and they come into Target Field for a 3-game set starting on Monday. All right, we'll break. We'll wrap up our first hour. We got some football chatter coming up hour 2. So we roll on a Friday morning show. Hot Mike rolls on. We're back on WDAY Extra right after this.